3 kids, 3 questions. I'll do my best to answer them in this video. Without further ado, here's the first letter from W. I'll just be using their first initials. He says, "Dear Mr. Keston, how much is the first comic book worth?" Good question, little man. And the answer might be more complicated than you think, because it begs the question, what was the first comic book? Some experts will start their answer by going back tens of thousands of years to when cavemen were drawing in caves. I'm going to fast forward, however, all the way to 1933, which is considered the date by which the first modern type comic book came out. It was a one-shot giveaway by Procter & Gamble called Funnies on Parade. It was a compilation of comic book strips that had previously been printed in newspapers. By the way, that's why comic books are called comic books, because they're rehashed material from newspaper funny pages. Funnies on Parade is super rare. Only 19 copies appear on the CGC census. A mid-grade copy sold a couple years ago for $13,000. There are 3 8.0 copies, that's 8.0 out of 10. If they were to sell, my guess is they would be between $25,000 and $35,000 a piece. Here's the second question. Dear Mr. Keston, how do you find the price for a comic book? G. Thanks, G, for the question. You're going to need 3 pieces of information and some tools to be able to answer that question. The first piece of information is the title, and here is Wonder Comics. And we're also looking for the issue number. So the issue here is number 20. So this is Wonder Comics number 20. You also need to figure out the grade of the comic book. Grades range from 0.5 to 10. The higher the grade, the more expensive the book will be. Landing on a particular grade for a comic book is tough for a number of reasons. The first is it takes a lot of time, a lot of experience, and often lots of good mentorship to become an accurate grader. This can take months or even years to do. Second, even if you have graded a book, it doesn't mean that somebody else will agree with your grade. Oftentimes, there's disagreements between the buyer and the seller about a grade of a book. And last, sometimes with these books, there will be restoration, subtle restoration that you may not be able to see. And if a book is restored, that might take the value way, way down on a comic book. Some comic book buyers won't buy these raw copies because they may not trust the grade of a seller and they don't trust their own ability to grade. So instead, they'll get a book that's been graded by a third-party grader like CGC. CGC is the biggest third-party grader of comic books, and they graded this book a 4.5. This helps buyer and seller agree on the grade. And by the way, when I first started out collecting and I was buying books that were more than, say, $100 or $200, I would typically buy one that was CGC because I didn't trust my grading yet. Now, as a more experienced collector and grader, I'll buy some raw books as well. Let me also note about CGC is that they can catch restoration, which can sometimes be really tough to do. And so, for example, in this book, it's got a purple label, and it means it's been restored. But as a buyer, when I first got this book, I knew that it was restored, and so I adjusted my price accordingly when I bid on it. Once you know the title, the issue number, and the grade, a next step might be to go to the Overstreet price guide to get an estimate of the price. Overstreet has been around since 1970 and put out a guide each year up till now. So this is the most recent guide from 2021, 2022, and it lists out tens of thousands of books and their estimated price at various grades. So I'm going to open it up here to just kind of a random page. You can see all these titles listed and then issue numbers and then estimated prices at these different grades. So it's a great tool to give you a sense of the prices of different books. Now, that being said, the prices that you see in the Overstreet price guide are usually at least a year old between writing the book and publication and when you actually get it. Obviously, a lot of time has passed by. Many buyers and sellers, including myself, want some more real-time data. To do that, you can look at eBay. You could check out the recent sales of the book that you're looking at, or you can go to a paid subscription site like GP Analysis, which keeps tracks of many auctions and other major selling sites to see what recent sales might be. Here's the third question. Dear Mr. Keston, how often do you come across a valuable comic book? And he says, I'm 11 years old. It's from V. Thanks for the question, V. On the internet, I find valuable comic books almost every day. I look at sites like Heritage Auctions, ComicConnect, ComicLink, and eBay, and almost every day they have new comic books that pop up that are hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, or even tens of thousands of dollars. Also, when I occasionally go to comic book conventions or to high-end comic book stores, I'll see some really nice books too. But if you're talking about just me going out in the wild to, say, a flea market or an antique store and finding a really nice comic book, that is super rare. Unfortunately, I don't have as much time as I would like to hunt for those comic books in the wild, but there are quite a few good YouTubers that do. DW and V, I really do appreciate your questions. And by the way, if you want to dive deeper into any one of these topics, you can check out the description box. I've got links to a bunch of great videos down there. And particularly if you're interested in looking at the prices of comic books, I put out a video a few months ago that's gotten over 5,000 hits. So check out that one. It goes into a lot of depth about how to price a comic book. All right, everybody, thanks so much for joining me. I hope to see you around real soon, and good luck on your comic book journeys.